Have you ever wondered what to do? I don't mean the little to-dos like should you eat spinach or broccoli. I mean the big to-dos like whether or not you should leave a relationship or change jobs or fire your psychotherapist, get a new teacher, try a new path. And you find yourself not knowing what to do. It could be resistance. That is, we are resistant to making changes. Change is scary. Our bodies literally don't like to change. It's uncertain. You don't know how it's going to come out. It's safer to stay in the same course you are, even if it's miserable, because at least you are familiar. Or it could also be that if you make a choice, you lose the other option or many options. And so it becomes sort of this abundance of choices and you just can't make up your mind. Or is it persistence? Are you staying your course? Are you not making the decision because the current pathway you're taking, you want to give it a little more time? You're not ready to make the decision to try something different because maybe you're only 4 feet away from the gold. Remember those early miners in California who were digging for gold, and many times they would stop 4 feet away from hitting the big one. And you don't want to do that. And then there's also that bright, shiny object syndrome, which many coaches and entrepreneurs are guilty of. They keep on looking for the solution as though it were outside of themselves, when actually it is inside. It's those early childhood wounds, those patterns that sabotage us, that keep us small. As a psychosocial analyst, I have found that the issues are around beliefs that you have and patterns that you develop in your early childhood to help you to survive. Very few of us had perfect parents. In fact, oftentimes our parents had worse stories, childhoods, than we did, and they actually were an upgrade. That doesn't change the fact that we've developed these patterns that can hold us back, such as fearing failure, allowing other people to determine whether or not you're successful, and so therefore not knowing how to decide that yourself, wanting to stay in control, and by making a change, you lose control. Or maybe you don't feel perfect enough or adequate enough. So these are all patterns that you develop in childhood when you are not loved unconditionally, when you are criticized or neglected, and you just don't get that self-confidence. Self-confidence is ultimately what you're seeking, that confidence that the decision you're making is the correct decision. The secret to developing that confidence, because confidence actually comes from practice. It comes from experiencing success, and then you develop confidence. You can't pull it out of a hat box. You can't pull it out of a drawer. You can't put it on and pretend, because people will know the difference between confidence and bravado and hubris and play acting. They do. Human beings are amazing. They really have the capacity to see through the facade, the mask. True confidence comes from the heart, from courage, from believing in yourself. So back to the action. Taking action, any kind of action, just do it. Because guess what? It doesn't matter whether it's the correct action or not. It's just information. If you succeed, then you begin to develop more confidence in your choices, and that encourages you to take other action. If it does not work out, well, it gives you a few pieces of information. One is, it might not be the right course, or two, you might actually be sabotaging yourself. That is, you take the action, but with one foot back in the other room. You are not fully invested in that action. You play small. You show up late. You don't fix yourself up. You insult somebody, whatever. You take action and it's not full-hearted. So you put in that sabotage. The other possibility is resistance, that you are not ready for success. And so by not succeeding, you say, okay, see, it didn't work. I'll go back to what I was doing before. However it turns out, there's information. You want to explore the results and discover whether it comes from sabotage or it actually is not the right course. And how do you tell the difference? Well, you do want to have that confidence. It comes from inspiration, from your inspired self, from making decisions based on your heart, what feels true to yourself. Again, in childhood, a lot of us were taught to tamp down who we truly are, to fulfill the needs of other people, because that ensured us attention, affection, acknowledgement. Choosing to be yourself might have resulted in condemnation, criticism. You're an adult now, hopefully, if you're watching this. So you want to take action from the heart, from an inspired place. How do you know that place? It takes practice. It takes action. And you start to learn what resonates. Remember the last time you did a project that you were really excited about and it came out really great? Did that ever happen to you? That's inspired action. That's what you want more of. And taking action, sometimes the inspiration isn't there first, but then you get the momentum. You start to get the feedback. You have to guard against social approval. Oftentimes people approve of you because you're giving away everything for free. And it feels really great, but it's not getting you the results you need. It's not bringing you the wealth, the health, or the happiness that you want. If you want a good relationship, you need to come from yourself, from your own inspired self. Because if you don't, if you give everything away, if you compromise yourself, eventually it's going to catch up with you. And you're going to be pretty upset. And it's going to come out and blast out. And then you're going to say, well, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm going to tell you a story. After my divorce from my first husband and trying out a very limited relationship, I decided to join a spiritual community for the summer in New Mexico. And it was amazing. It was a great escape from my unhappiness. It also activated in me connection to my spirit, connection to my higher self. I was in such a great state of peace and trust. Those are the keys, peace and trust, that I experienced this event and made a different choice, a choice that came from inspired confidence. I was taking a group of students with me to go see the Pueblo dances at Acoma, one of the Pueblos, Sky City in New Mexico. It was a day off from our spiritual practice. We got into my VW van and we drove to Albuquerque to pick up another student. And my car wouldn't start after she came out. It was like it just wouldn't start. And I could feel welling up in me that peevishness, that frustration, that anger that I often turn to when things didn't work out right. The whiny child. Of course, I had just finished doing this amazing 2 months of spiritual practice. And I was in this amazing state of contentment. And I said, well, that doesn't feel right. So I pulled out my trusty VW manual, the idiot guide, and started to diagnose what the problem was. I didn't think past that. I just said, okay, this is the next thing I need to do, is find out what's wrong. And just as I diagnosed, without a shadow of a doubt, what the problem was, a man appeared at my shoulder and he said, may I help you? And I laughed and I said, well, only if you're a VW mechanic. To which he replied, well, actually I am. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I laughed again and I said, great. This is my diagnosis. Do you happen to have the part? He said, I don't know. Let me go and look in my studio. And he went into his studio and he came out 5 minutes later with the part. Not only that, he offered to put it in for me, which he did. And all he charged me was the $5 for the part. The car started up. All the students jumped in the car and we drove off. Of course, I thanked him profusely. And when we hit the highway, it dawned on me. It was Labor Day. All the auto shops were closed. I believe that the universe was waiting for me to make the right choice, the inspired choice, the choice that comes from that spiritual confidence. So I don't usually talk about spirituality, but it is a really important element and one of my foundational pillars to a successful and balanced life. You can't rely completely on spirit. After all, we are living in this three-dimensional reality. And we have to do things in this world because that's why we're here. Otherwise, we might as well be on the other side. We're here to make a difference, to share our gifts. When you connect with your gifts and you work on those emotional wounds so that you come from confidence, that's what brings success. That's what achieves your success in relationships, success in health, and success in your work. So this inspiration is the same kind of inspiration, the same kind of certainty that I use when I work with my clients. It is a practice of not letting the inner child or the doubting mind to jump in the way. When you operate from that place, you get information from your higher self, from divine guidance, from source. And when you can learn to listen to that instead of the fears, that's when you make really powerful decisions. And that's what I teach my clients. I teach them how to do that themselves, because my job is to eventually be fired so that my clients can live their purpose and their life. So they can be true to their authentic self and make a difference. That's my mission, is to make a difference in this world. So what else can I share with you? Resistance or persistence? Check in with your heart. And if you aren't familiar with checking in with your heart, reach out. I offer a free introductory conversation, telephone call, to find out what's holding you back and how I can work with you and whether we're a match. The link is in the comments section. And feel free to go ahead and check out my website. There's a lot of information that you can also peruse. That's all I have for today. Be inspired. Bye for now.